Recently, I visited one of my favorite countries in the world, Turkey. I traveled here with my mom and my hubby, and we had an unforgettable, amazing time in Istanbul. We explored the architecture, chatted with locals, did some shopping, ate a lot of Turkish delicious food, drank a lot of tea, and so much more. So, let's start, my friends. When you think about Istanbul, you probably don't think about snow. But that's exactly how the weather was when we started our first day of exploring the Sultan Ahmet neighborhood. And during the next 3 days that we spent here in March, the weather was constantly changing between snow showers, rain, wind, and at the end a lot of sun. First morning, we started very early to visit famous Hagia Sophia, that is now open 24/7. Hagia Sophia has a very long and interesting history. By the way, I don't think I ever saw palms covered with snow. Did you? Anyway, Hagia Sophia's very complex history begins in the year 537, when Byzantine Emperor Justinian built the huge church overlooking the Golden Horn harbor. In 453, Byzantians lost a war against Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, who then captured Istanbul, formerly known as Constantinople, and very soon later converted Hagia Sophia into a mosque. 4 minarets were added to the exterior, and ornate Christian icons and gold mosaics were covered with panels of Arabic religious calligraphy. In 1934, Hagia Sophia was turned into a museum, and it belongs to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Recently, the museum was turned back into a mosque. Independent of that, everyone is invited and welcomed to visit the mosque and admire its unique beauty. Inside, you can admire the mosaics and icons from the 6th century, original Byzantine ceiling, and the amazing architecture design. Hagia Sophia has 104 columns, some of which are brought from ancient cities. These 8 large round plates were added during the Ottoman period and are work of the famous calligrapher Karadrasker Mustafa İzzet during the reign of Sultan Abdülmecid. If you have time, I suggest you to visit Hagia Sophia twice. Once in the morning, when you can easier see all the wonderful details on the walls, and as we did also once in the evening, when the atmosphere is a lot different, when less tourists and more locals are there. If you are coming in colder months, like we did, as you are not allowed to enter any mosque with shoes, I suggest you to take 2 pairs of socks with you, because the floor can get very cold and I really felt my feet freezing. After Hagia Sophia, we went to visit another close-by mosque, called Blue Mosque or Sultan Ahmed Mosque, famous for its blue color. Unfortunately, we couldn't see much since it was under the restoration. Around 10 o'clock, we were ready for our next site, the nearby famous Topkapi Palace. Palace is open every day except Tuesday, and the ticket costs 200 Turkish lira or around 12 euros. Topkapi Palace, or Ottoman Imperial Palace, served as the main residence and administrative headquarters of the Ottoman sultans. Mehmed the Conqueror built the first stage of the palace shortly after the conquest in 1453. It was home to about 30 Ottoman sultans until the reign of Abdülmecid I in the 19th century, a period of nearly 4 centuries. Topkapi Palace housed from 1,000 to 4,000 inhabitants, including up to 300 in the harem. Original layout of the palace consisted of 4 courtyards surrounded by high walls remained till today. Each courtyard served different purposes and was separated by a gate that restricted entry, culminating in the most private 3rd and 4th courtyards. The palace's surviving buildings are generally low, 1 to 2-story structures that changed functions throughout the centuries. 3rd courtyard housed the private residence of the Sultan and the inner palace school, where only the Sultan, members of his family, his servants, and the occasional approved visitors could enter. The 3rd courtyard extends to the 4th courtyard, which consists primarily of terraced gardens and pavilions. After spending around 2 hours in magnificent Topkapi Palace and having a fast lunch, we took a tramp towards the second most beautiful palace in Istanbul, Dolmabahce Palace. Dolmabahce Palace is the symbol of westernization of the 19th century. With its stunning view over the waters of the Bosphorus and a bay that harbored ships since Byzantine times, very fast it became the favorite residence of the Sultanate. The transition from Topkapi Palace to Dolmabahce Palace in the 19th century was a radical change for the Ottoman Empire. The administrative center of the reign was shifting, and Dolmabahce Palace was also opening towards the new in terms of architecture. It reflects Rococo, Baroque, and Neoclassical architecture styles. The main structure of the palace is functionally divided into 3 parts: the administrative, where the government affairs are carried out; the second part, harem, which belongs to the private life of the Sultan and his family; and the third part, ceremonial hall, which is reserved for the important state ceremonies of the Sultan. Dolmabahce Palace is built on 14,595 square meters area and has 285 rooms, 44 halls, 68 toilets, and 6 Turkish baths, and is the largest palace in Turkey as a single monolith structure. Along with the architecture of Dolmabahce, Western influence is also visible in the interior design. The past tradition of sitting arrangements with sofa and cushions were replaced by table sitting arrangement. Unfortunately, it was forbidden to film inside, so I cannot show you how splendid it looks when you enter it. But I can assure you that it is really breathtaking. After spending time in Dolmabahce Palace, we went to check out another part of the town, and that is Ortaköy. Ortaköy is one of the most popular, lively, and attractive neighborhoods of Beşiktaş, located just by the Bosphorus and under the Bosphorus Bridge. Ortaköy Mosque, one of the most beautiful mosques in Istanbul, was built in the 19th century. And the Bosphorus Bridge that you can see from here is the bridge that connects the European and Asian sides of Istanbul. Yes, if you didn't know, Istanbul is lying on both continents, Europe and Asia. That's only one of the many things that makes this city so special. In the evening, we strolled down the famous pedestrian street, Istiklal Çardaşı, where you can find all trendy international and Turkish brands, as well as great places to eat and rest. We also made a stop at Çiçek Pasajı, or Flower Passage in Turkish, originally called the Cité de Pera. Famous historic passage opened in 1876, covered arcade with rows of historic cafes, wine houses and restaurants. After the Russian Revolution of 1917, a number of impoverished noble Russian women, including a baroness, opened flower shops here. By the 1940s, the building was mostly occupied by flower shops. That's why the name Flower Passage. Here, we tried out some Turkish sweets and some Turkish coffee. Second day in Istanbul, we started very early in the morning. The streets were still empty. Shops and fruit stands were slowly opening. And locals were preparing for a busy day to come. We had a very sweet but great breakfast. And we headed down to the famous Egyptian Spice Bazaar. They say no visit to Istanbul is complete without stopping by the atmospheric Spice Bazaar. The Spice Market is one of the most colorful, fragrant, and fun bazaars I ever visited. It reminded me a lot on markets that I had a chance to visit in my other most favorite country in the world, India. There are so many goods to try here. Locals are very polite and nice, and it is just a place that you cannot skip. It was built in 1664 as part of the Yeni Cami, new mosque complex. You can find here so many different spices, herbs, seeds, dried fruits, sweets, and colorful traditional decor. Great experience. After exploring historical Spice Bazaar, the streets were leading towards another very famous bazaar in Istanbul, called Grand Bazaar. Istanbul's Grand Bazaar is one of the world's greatest and biggest shopping destinations, and is the largest covered market, spanning over 30,700 square meters. It contains of the 64 streets and smaller lanes, is home to around 4,000 shops, as well as the bazaar's own mosque, post office, restaurants, banks, and police station, making it a small city on its own. The bazaar began its life in 1461, and since then never stopped expanding. You can buy here carpets and kilins, lanterns and lamps, metalware, textile and cushions, nargiles, fashion accessories, sweets, and a lot of quality weather products. After shopping time, we went towards the famous Galata Bridge. The bridge has been since years featured in Turkish theater, poetry, and novels. But also writers like Mark Twain couldn't resist its beauty and history. I think it's not only the bridge that makes people fall in love with this place, but it's also because of its stunning view over the city. The mosques, the Golden Horn, and of course, the fishermen. I enjoyed watching fishermen, since my father loved to go fishing, and taking me and my sister with him. It brought up some really nice memories. By the way, you're noticing how sunny it got, and snow disappeared totally. Unpredictable March weather. Let's continue, my friends. By the way, beside the fact that Istanbul is situated both in Europe and Asia, did you know that it is also the largest city in Turkey? And as well as the world's 15th largest city, with a population of over 15 million residents. Impressive, right? Ankara, the capital of Turkey, has around 5 million people. This stunning tower that you can see now is called Galata Tower. It belongs to one of the oldest towers in the world and one of the symbols of Istanbul. Galata Tower was first built by the Byzantine Emperor Justinianus in 507 to 508 AD. I enjoyed so much the view of the tower, and you can spot it very easy from almost every corner of the city. We are back in the pedestrian street, Istiklal Street. The vibes are totally different during the sunny day. There's so many people, restaurants, street food, shops. The energy is really great. Oh yeah, this stand is selling simit, a famous sesame-crusted circular Turkish bread. Very tasty. And I fell in love with these cute vintage red trams that have been driving shoppers and tourists up and down the street for decades. And when you are done with shopping and walking, at the beginning of the street, there is a local chain of restaurants called Pelivan Lokantashi, where you can eat really good traditional Turkish cooked food, and for very little money. They also have a lot of vegetarian options, and of course a lot of sweets. We are coming closer to the end of our Istanbul tour, and we are ending it at the most important square in Istanbul, called Taksim Square. This square, the heart of Istanbul, is a favorite place for gathering, celebrating events like New Year, open exhibitions, activities, and so much more. The monument in front of us is the monument of the Turkish Republic and the Day of Liberation and Victory. You can also find big metro station here, as well as underground bus station. And Istanbul wouldn't be Istanbul if there wouldn't be a nice market somewhere near, like this flower market. My friends, I hope you fell in love with Istanbul as I did. I really hope you will come to visit this magical city on your own, and I can't wait to come back here again. Thank you for watching the video. Teşekkür.